Hi, my name's Alex Stone, and I'm the author of Fooling Houdini, Magicians, Mentalists, Math Geeks, and the Hidden Powers of the Mind. The reason I came to write the book was it brought together these interests that I'd had basically since I was a kid. I first became fascinated with magic when I was 5 years old. My first gig was my own birthday party, and it didn't go well. I was heckled. It was terrible. I was unprepared. But I didn't give up, and I kept with it. And when you really start to look at magic and how it works, the sort of nuts and bolts of how magic fools us, you start to ask some rather profound questions. You know, how do we perceive reality, and how much of what we perceive is actually real? You know, how much faith can we have in our memories? So there are all these different questions that I really found fascinating, and Fooling Houdini is largely an exploration of that. Magic is in many ways still an oral tradition, and some of the best secrets are passed along in person. In trying to understand magic, I wound up meeting some of the most interesting people I've ever met. From my sort of teacher, one of my main teachers, who's an older guy who basically lives in the back of a pizzeria and has studied with the greats and, you know, holds court, you know, in this grimy pizzeria, to one of the world's greatest card cheats who happens to be blind and does it all by touch, which actually led me to an investigation of the science of touch and tactile sensitivity. I also encountered a number of scientists who were interested in magic, mathematicians, for example, who studied cards as a means of understanding randomness and entropy and how information is transmitted. I did an experiment with a psychologist at the New School who coined the term inattentional blindness. Inattentional blindness is basically a form of blindness that we experience when we're not paying attention. We did an experiment in her lab where we brought people in, and while they were distracted, we stole their watches. I distract them, I do a coin trick, and I take their watches off, and we wanted to see how many people would notice. And the idea being that under normal circumstances, you'd probably notice if someone takes your watch off, but if you're distracted in some way, you might not. And we found that more than 80% of people didn't notice when we took their watch right off their hands. In most cases, I'd put the watch on my own wrist and then do a card trick or something, so they were actually looking at their own watch while I did the card trick. One case, the alarm went off on their watch and they still didn't notice. This doesn't just apply to magic. This is the reason, for instance, why you shouldn't talk on the cell phone while driving. It's not the manual task of holding the phone to your ear that puts you at risk. It's the cognitive task of having to pay attention to a conversation while you're also driving a car. I mean, behind almost every magic trick, there's some sort of psychological or scientific principle at work. And by looking at this, we learn about the human brain and about nature, and we can really gain deeper insights that go far beyond magic and really relate to all of us. Magic also, I think, is one of these things that transcends culture and age and gender. If you show a magic trick to pretty much anyone in the world of any age, they will usually smile. I think that's because magic taps into this elemental desire in all of us to sort of revisit that childlike sense of awe and astonishment that was very much a part of our lives when we were younger, but tends to sort of fade and wash out as we get older in age. And magic is a way of temporarily experiencing that again.